Antoine with another episode of Out and Up. We encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And like every show, we're blessed to have another awesome guest. And y'all know how I do. I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself.
What's up, everybody? I'm Candice Walker, Associate Head Coach at St. John's University in Queens, New York.
That's awesome. I appreciate you joining us.
No problem at all, man. I'm excited to be here.
All right, you ready to get into the questions?
Let's go.
All right, where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I grew up probably like 2 minutes away from Pimlico Racetrack, where they do all the races at. So inner city girl, now living in the city as well, where I reside at here in Queens, New York.
That's cool. That's cool. When did you start playing basketball?
Ooh, good question. I probably had to start playing, I would say maybe like 4th or 5th grade. I first got introduced to it by one of my cousins. I used to hang with him all the time, and he would like go to the courts and play basketball. And then my stepdad, he got me into like a little league. It was at like Walbrook High School in Baltimore. And then ever since then, I just kind of fell in love with it and ran with it. So yeah, it's a while ago. Not even a while, a long time ago that I started playing. So yeah.
Got you. Did you play any other sports in your youth?
I ran track in high school, and I actually won a volleyball championship in high school as well. So I'd say volleyball and track. I mean, I didn't really play outside of that, but like, you know, those were the two sports that I got into when I was in high school. All
right. Now, in any of those other sports, did you ever have a feeling of playing those, you know, at a higher level? Or was it just a focus on basketball?
It was just basketball, man. I think I only played those two sports because like my coaches was telling me like volleyball can help with your footwork. And then track just helps with your speed. So I think they was the only reason why I actually played both of those sports.
All right. So at what point did you kind of have an aspiration or gain an aspiration? You know, some young people, they play sports and it's just to kind of have fun and have something to do. But some of them at a certain point, you say, you know what, I could take this to a high level. At what point did you kind of have a feeling that you could take basketball beyond high school?
I would say probably like maybe middle school when I start like getting college letters and stuff. And then like my mom and my dad, they were like, basically like, this is something that could take you further than you ever thought that you could go. And like I said, man, I came from Baltimore City. So a lot of Baltimore City kids were tough. So when I played, it was like freeing for me, you know, like I could just be out there and just ball out. I can go as fast as I wanted to. I can do kind of the stuff that they was doing on N1, which really intrigued me and stuff. So I think like 8th grade, definitely when I start receiving like college letters and like, you know, they start coming to, you know, your AAU games and stuff like that. I realized like, okay, shoot, this is serious. Like I could kind of use this to, you know, get an education at the college level. So my mom definitely prepared me for all of that kind of stuff and encouraged me with it as well.
That's good. So I'm going to ask, you know, I asked some of our guests coming from where I come from Paterson, New Jersey. I've had the guests on from the Chi. You know, I've had a couple guests. Just had an athlete, a volleyball player from Ohio State, and Chelsea Thorpe, and she graduated from. Not graduated, but she came from Chicago, the west side of Chicago. So you coming from Baltimore, what was life like growing up? And I ask this because some of our guests will watch the show that may come from inner cities and are facing those different struggles. Like, what was life for you, like, coming out of Baltimore?
It was good. Like, I honestly didn't know like that we lived in like a city that like wasn't good until I got older. Cause like I never lacked, like my parents never let me lack anything. Like I was always the kid that had, you know, the latest Jordans. I always looked the part. My mom did hair, so hair was always done. Always had the clothes and the shoes or whatever. And so I never realized that, I guess, until like I start, you know, going over friends' houses and seeing like their neighborhood kind of compared to mine. So like for me, it was never really a struggle. I do think it made me tougher because like in the city, you go outside and play. So like at a young age, man, I was outside riding bikes. You know, we was building ramps to like use our bikes and ride over them. And like we played outside. Like we played basketball. I probably was the only kid in the neighborhood that had a basketball hoop, and we would be out there every day playing. So for me, it really wasn't a struggle. And like I said, I really never realized like that, like Baltimore City, like, cause it's not a bad city, but like in some certain areas it is bad. And I never realized that until like I got older and I started going to like the county of Baltimore, and I was like, oh, okay, this is different. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I never really realized that. Yeah.
Okay. You said something, and I asked you where you're at up there now, even in the New York area. Like, does playing outside still exist today?
It still exists, man. Here, I mean, like, I don't think, I mean, I don't live in Baltimore no more, but
Right.
even when I do go back home and like I'm riding around, like you don't see a ton of kids outside playing. But like New York, man, you see kids outside. Like I got a basketball court right across the street from me, and I live in Jamaica, Queens, which is
Okay.
like city. And like kids out there playing every day. Like I got a basketball court and a soccer field, and they be out there, like if it's in the summertime, they out there till 12, 1 o'clock playing every day. So I always, every time I'm riding around New York, I'm always like, man, like this city provides so many like recreational stuff for the kids to be able to go outside and play. Like in Baltimore, we don't have a lot of outdoor courts to even play on.
Okay.
But here in New York, man, every corner you go to or every borough you go to, there's like basketball courts, soccer field, football fields, all of the things that kids would need to be successful while they're young and be able to get out and just play outside is definitely provided here. So I say yes, I think it's still around. I
And
mean,
that's that.
think about like New York is just big for like, even like you talk about, me, you were just talking about, two kids that, I recruited. They play outside in summer tournaments. New York versus New York is like a big one. Like they play outside
Right.
all the time in the summer. So it's definitely not lost here in New York. It's still going here for sure.
And that's good. And I guess it is a difference for me now because I've been now in the South since early maybe 2003 2004 time, and so it's a little different. And even having kids of my own, I just always look back, and coming from the New Jersey area, I don't see kids outside here
Yeah.
like I saw them. And you said it was even a difference between Baltimore and New York. So there's a big difference. I was actually just in Jersey just a week or two ago. And so I was talking to my sister, and we were talking about the courts that were in the Jersey City area compared to what I see now where I live at. And so it is a different, I guess, depending on where you go to.
Absolutely.
So I just want to go back. You were talking about just the attention that you received early. What kept you grounded during that time that you started receiving offers, or even, getting into conversation with schools and you was getting that attention? What kept you grounded?
I say my mom, man. Anybody know my mom? Know she don't play. That's my dog. But she just like, I think too, like I say this, like I didn't know like the recruiting process.
Okay.
Like I feel like I wasn't like, as much as these kids nowadays, like they're so involved in their recruiting process. Like I feel like I just was like, okay, like the school like me. Like I didn't understand like the whole process. And I think because like, number one, like my mom, she really ain't know the process either, but we were both figuring it out as we went. But like, she's the one who kind of made me realize like this, like you can go to college off of this. Like she made me realize that. Like I really didn't realize it, like I said, until I started getting letters. But I think my mom was like the one who kept me grounded, and like she would always tell me like, you don't want to be good. Like you don't want to be good. She still say that to this day. Like you don't want to be good. Everybody gonna tell you you're good. You don't want to be good. You want to be great. So like that
Gotcha.
always was like a fuel for me to like continue to, just be better and get better, with time. And I always say to her, like, man, I wish I would have listened more back then, because I probably would have been, better than I was.
Okay.
But, as a kid, you think you know everything. So,
Gotcha.
but she definitely kept me, humble and hungry to just continue to chase it, and to get the scholarship for me to be able to be successful on a college level.
And y'all just heard Coach Walker say, like, when she was younger, she thought she knew everything.
Yeah, man.
There's a quote I love to give when I go speak to young kids at schools and stuff, and it's not always even athletic groups, but a quote I heard that was said by, I think it was John Wooden, big time UCLA coach, John Wooden said, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts.
Absolutely.
You know, so to our young people, even when you think you know it all, it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. So I'm glad she pointed that out, because so many kids, they have to look back and be like, man, I wish I would have listened to this person. I wish I would have listened to this person. I wish I would have worked even harder. So I'm glad you kind of pointed that out. I want to ask, what were some, I guess, middle school, high school, what were some of your most memorable moments in the sport?
I would say, as far as college, we were like one of the first teams in a while at Loyola to go to the NIT and to compete for a championship in the MAC, because we were in the MAC back then. And then after we lost in the championship, but we were one of the first to like compete in the NIT at that school. So and then we were even more, like we got to the second round of the NIT. So that was like a big deal, back then. I would never forget, like once we beat ODU, who we weren't supposed to beat, they were like really good back then. We thought we was gonna get blown out. Well, everybody thought we was gonna get blown out that game, but I remember coming back, it was like so many people outside like cheering us on when our bus pulled up. So like that was a memorable moment for me in college. And then high school was like when we were ranked number 7 in the country, and we got to go to Arizona and play in the Nike tournament there. And it was just like you seen all the top, players and athletes. And it was an awesome, feeling, awesome opportunity. But that was like two of the most memorable moments for me.
Okay. So real quick, I always love to talk about just the recruiting process, to kind of give young athletes some tips here and there. So you end up choosing, you said it just now, but let those that didn't catch it, what college did you end up going to?
Back when I chose it was Loyola College. Now it's University of Maryland. And it's in Baltimore. Literally, it's like 10 minutes from my house.
Okay.
So I think your next question was going to be why I chose it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I chose it because they like chose me. You know what I'm saying? Like they was really invested in me, and really invested in, me being in their program. And then on top of that, like it just gave me a chance to be home and play in front of my family. I think, even now, like so many big people get caught up in wanting to go away from home for college. Like, man, I got to get out of here. I want to go away from home. Well, for me, it was kind of the opposite. Like I wanted to be the hometown hero. And I wanted to bring, some attention to Loyola. And it gave me an opportunity too to start my freshman year, which usually, doesn't happen. So just their investment in me, and just me being able to be, home with my family. Like I'm an only child. So it gave my mom and my dad and my grandma and my cousins. I mean, if you ask anybody at Loyola, I had the whole city out at our game. So it just gave me a chance to just continue what we was doing in high school, and just be that like hometown hero and bring, attention to the university.
All right. So if you're talking to the young, it's funny already knowing what your title and your position is now. But I want to ask this question because I like, for those that have gone through the process, just to give the young athlete coming up, like just little tips on the process, so they're not making the mistake of, let me go after the biggest school, let me go after, this or that. What are some things that you would advise the young athlete is important when really figuring out where they want to continue their career at from high school?
I think it's like the investment that the coaches show you. Like, if a coach is really interested in you, they're going to want to get to know who you are. They're going to want to have, relationships and build a relationship with you and your family. And they're going to be real with you. It's not going to be anything fraudulent. So if you, just feel like, a coach and a program is invested in you, like that's definitely, one of the bigger reasons to choose a school. Also, on top of that, you want to choose a school that you're going to be happy at, regardless of who's the coach, because nowadays coaches can get fired left and right. So you want to go somewhere where you're going to be comfortable, as just a person, not just as an athlete or a student athlete. Like you want to go somewhere where you're going to be happy, regardless of who's coaching, and regardless of who's the assistant or the head coach. Like You want to go somewhere where you're going to be happy, period, overall. So, and then obviously, like, you know, when it comes to academics, you want to choose somewhere where they have your major or what you're interested in.
Okay.
Also off of the support that they have academically. You know, a lot of, you know, inner city kids, they maybe didn't have the privilege of going to a school that had a good, you know, school system. You want to go somewhere where you're going to be able to have that help and be successful in the classroom. Because that's one of the most important things. Like that comes before, you know, playing. If you don't get good grades or you're ineligible, then you can't play. So going somewhere that definitely is going to have the academic support that you need.
Okay. All right. So for yourself, like what was the trend? Was the transition hard from high school? Or I'll just say from the coaching standpoint, what are some things that the young high schooler needs to be prepared for in getting ready for that transition from high school to college? And I'm talking from the academic end as well as from the athletic end.
I think the biggest thing, you know, transitioning from high school to college that kids need to kind of prepare for is just learning how to use their time. You know, too often I see freshmen coming in and they start going crazy because they got lift in the morning. They go from lift to class, from class to practice. Then they got to go to study hall. They got to fit that in somewhere. Then they got to have study groups. They got to fit that in somewhere. So a lot of them struggle with that. And then on top of that, not knowing how to get the proper rest. So, you know, a lot of kids nowadays, in my opinion, are like fortunate because a lot of kids go to prep schools or go to boarding schools where they practice that routine. So like transitioning, you know, from the high school level to college is easier for them. But for those that aren't, like the biggest thing, in my opinion, is like time management, like knowing how to manage your time. And then on top of that, just like this goes along with time management, but like knowing what time you got to go to sleep in order to be ready for the next day. And also being able to balance like everything you got going on from a academic standpoint and from an athletic standpoint, but also balancing that with your social life. So I think, you know, that's one of the biggest things, in my opinion, for kids coming from high school to college, is like knowing time management. And then from the academics, I mean, from the athletic side of things, I say the biggest thing is just coming in shape. You're going to be playing against bigger, stronger, faster people than you ever probably played against. So, you know, you coming in shape is half the battle. You know, a lot of kids come in, you know, they've been the guy on their team or the lady on their team, I'd say, you know, for 4 years in high school. But now you come into a program where everybody else was the person on their team too. So it's going to be a competitive, you know, environment every day. So, you know, the biggest thing you can do is come in and be in shape, because that's half the battle.
Right, right. For the young athlete, and no, let's scratch that question. I want to kind of go back even for yourself. What were were there any obstacles you faced during your transition, academically or athletically? Were there any things that you kind of faced in your transition, or was it a smooth transition for you?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it was smooth my freshman year. I think like I came into a great situation where so like I started my freshman year. So it was kind of smooth for me. And I always was like, I wasn't the best at academics, but I always like was a B plus, you know, A- type of kid. So that was fine for me. I think where the struggle kind of came in for me, you know, and this wasn't my freshman year, but like, you know, throughout my college career is when I started getting injured. You know, my sophomore year, I tore my plantar fascia and I was kind of out the whole season. Wow. And then the day I got clear, I tore my ACL. So like, it was like, that was my biggest obstacle in college, just like the injuries, man. Like once I tore my plantar fascia, then I tore my ACL, and then I got better, then I tore the other ACL. So it was like just a roller coaster ride for me as far as like injuries. But you know, coming in, it was smooth, man. I was like, we did it. We had a decent, you know, season. I had 5 rookies of the week my freshman year. You know, I came into my sophomore year, preseason second team all conference. So like, you know, from the beginning, it was very smooth for me. And I kind of got, I mean, I know this. In my heart, I know that I kind of got like big headed a little bit, and I got comfortable where what my mom had always been preaching to me is like, and my dad, both of them, is like that you don't want to be good. Like you don't want to be, people telling you you're good. You want to be great. I think I settled for being good. And then it was the injuries didn't allow me to get back to where I should have been at. So I think the biggest thing for me was just the injuries, not really like, it wasn't no hurdles, going from high school to college. It was just once I got in there, man, just the injuries and settling, in my opinion.
Okay. So you go on to coach. I want to ask, what was it like, or what did you deal with anything when you got to the point that you realized that this was it as far as sports? Was it the injuries that kind of put it into everything as far as extending your career?
Yeah, it kind of, I think the injuries for me, like, I just was like, yeah, my body, like being healthy is more important than playing to me at this point.
Right.
And like after college, I actually went to an event called So You Want to Be a Coach. And it's basically an event where, they send seniors to the Final Four, and you're able to go through this program where you get to hear from speakers, and you get to kind of network and meet other coaches, and it usually puts you in the position to become like a grad student or an assistant coach somewhere, right? So I go to this event, and my head coach at the time, Joe Logan, he sent me to this event. He's like, hey, look, I think this would be great for you. Like, go try it out. So I go to the program, and I'm like, oh, this is great, but like, I don't think I want to do this no more, because basketball does take up a lot of your time. I had been in college, thankfully, for 6 years because of injuries, but I was able to gain my master's for free as well. But it takes up a lot of your time, and I just didn't know if I wanted to continue to do that after college. I was like, look, I'm just ready to live my life. I've kind of been on this, basketball routine, for a great chunk of my life. So I just wanted to try something else, and which I did, and it only lasted like a month.
Okay.
Until I start itching and feeling again to be back around the game, which kind of brought me to being an assistant coach at Wilmington University. My high school coach, she had gotten a job at a Division II school and hit me up and was like, hey, I got this job. I can't pay you much, but I'd love for you to just be here. So I go and try it out, and I like fell in love, and I was like, this is what I'll do. And then rest is history. I just kept going with it.
Okay. And just tell us from Wilmington to what was the next move and next stop prior to you getting to where you're at now? What was the rest of your coaching history up to now?
Yep. So I was at Wilmington for 2 years. It was Division II in Delaware, Maryland. While my second year, while I was there, because I only made probably like $500 a month, which was insane. My first year, I commuted the whole time back and forth from Maryland to Delaware. My second year, I knew I wanted to live in Delaware. So I was like, I got to figure out something else to kind of, pair with this coaching thing that I can do. So I was a personal stylist at Nordstrom. That was probably like 10 minutes away at the local mall in Delaware.
Okay.
And then I moved to Delaware. And then, after that, I kind of was like, all right, I really want to do this thing like full time. Like I got to figure out, what's next. And lo and behold, I had got a job being a director of ops at UMass. And then we got fired my freshman year.
Okay.
I'm saying my first year. And then, my second year, I was actually kept on staff and promoted by the new head coach, Tory Verdi. And then from there, like I was there for 5 years. I went from Dobo to assistant coach to recruiting coordinator. And then I tore my Achilles my last year there, which is really why I took a step back from it, and I decided to go back to my alma mater for a year. So I tore my Achilles working out one of the best players in the A-10, so it was worth it.
Wow.
And I was at Loyola, Maryland for a year, and then from there, I was actually brought here by my boss now, here at St. John. So I'm going into my second season here.
Okay. All right. So first, I saw it in some of the reading, but you just mentioned it. So I like to go over these different positions just for the young athlete that maybe they get to college, they'll know some of the other opportunities that's out there. So Dobo, the director of basketball operations,
yes.
What does that consist of?
So for me, it consisted of Like I plan all the travel. You can basically do everything but be on the court. So I planned a lot of the travel, all of the meals and everything on the road or at home. I was like the liaison for compliance. I did a lot of stuff as far as just planning for the program. So basically you do all of the stuff that's like kind of behind the scenes. But a lot of planning, a lot of scheduling, all of that good stuff. And then from that, I went to recruiting coordinator. And I actually was a recruiting coordinator here last season, and I'm still, recruiting coordinator / associate head coach. But recruiting coordinator is like you plan all recruiting visits. You're the point person when it comes to recruiting. You have to be creative, in my opinion, which I love. That's the part I love about it because, like, I'm a very creative person. Outside of just basketball. But you just basically are the point person when it comes to recruiting. And like I said, you plan all the visits. You're one of the biggest liaisons between women's basketball and compliance. You take a lot of, weight on where you have to make sure that the program is compliant. Everybody understands recruiting rules. And now associate head coach, I'm doing both. Associate head coach, I'm just basically, my boss's right hand. So, anything he needs me to do, I'm there. I also handle academics as well. So all of our kids come to me as far as academics. We have standards. I hold them to those standards. And if you don't follow my standards, then you will be held accountable. But I wear many hats now, which is a blessing for me because I do want to be a head coach one day. And it's put me in position to be able to do that.
That's awesome. It sounds like your plate is full.
Very full, very full.
So what is it that you enjoy the most about being able to coach? Now being on the other end, not actually playing, but now coaching. What is it that you get to do when it comes to interacting with your athletes?
I mean, my favorite thing about it all, about the whole process of being a coach is just building relationships. I love to build relationships with our players, recruits, their families, our support staff, everybody that's involved around, the sport. I love to build those relationships, man. I think it's a special thing to be able to see, your players go from young women and grow into women. That's one of the biggest things. I love seeing them graduate. I love seeing if they come in and they're a certain way, but then they just mature by their senior year. Like all of that stuff makes me feel good and gives me fulfillment. And then I love just impacting. I try to be the best that I can be to set an example for them and to be, a role model to them as well. A lot of my players, you'll hear them, they go from calling me mom to like when they get out of college, they call me big sis. So I'm definitely, that type of person that wants to know who you are. I don't want to just know you as an athlete. I don't want to know you just as a student. Like I want to know about your life. I want to know about your family, your significant other, whatever. Like I want to be involved and I know all of that stuff because I feel like as a coach, that helps me because I am a tough coach. So if you know that, I love you off the court, but on the court, it's about business. It just makes it easier for me to be able to coach as well. So my favorite thing, like I said, is just the relationship building part of it. Like I love that part.
Right. And I think it's so awesome. I hope for the young athlete that gets the opportunity to watch this show, you touched it earlier on things that they need to look for when going through the whole recruiting process. But I think everything you just kind of said to me, being in the field that I'm in, like I think it's leadership 101. And I think, young people are looking for that. So they need to know that someone cares about them more than beyond just what they do.
Right.
And so, when you get into, again, how's life going? How are things going at home? Like that's a part of, being sincere about caring for someone. And there's many young athletes that need that. So I think it's awesome what you're doing on that end. And I hope the kids that's listening hears that, don't find yourself in a school where that person was only worrying about what you can do for them. Absolutely. You need to have so many of our kids, especially the ones that don't have positive examples, within their upbringing. You need to be blessed to be around, if it's just a 4-year period, around positive coaches that will help you in growing as an individual.
Absolutely.
And so I appreciate what you're doing on that end. what have you set goals? I know you've already kind of put it out there, so I don't necessarily have to ask the question, what's your goals? You've already said you would like to be a head coach. Have you set personal time frames for yourself, or is it just about learning what you can learn where you're at right now?
Yeah, I'm always 2 feet in wherever I am.
Okay.
And I've my journey in this business and in life period, people will always try to put like their lives or their journey on what you're doing. And I've been a firm believer in God puts you where you need to be. So I don't stress about the next job, or I don't chase the next job. I'm 2 feet in fully. I'm fully committed. I always say that 2 feet in, I'm fully committed wherever I am. And I'm all St. John's right now. And obviously when the opportunity comes to me to be a head coach, I will be thankful and blessed. But right now, I just want to be the best that I can be for our program to be successful.
All right. And so I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, and we're getting close to wrapping the show up. But that young athlete watching, just kind of reiterate or just give them a good package from the academics to even the athletic end. I mean, let's start with athletics first this time, because I want you to cover the academic end also. But what are some things that they can do to grow and just getting better in their games? What are some fundamental things that the young athlete, middle school, high schooler can do away from practice, away from their coaches, to really grow and getting better in the sport?
Watch the game. Watch the game. So many people, and I'm saying the game that you're going to be playing. So if you're a girl, watch women's basketball. Watch the WNBA. If you're a guy, watch, college men's basketball. Watch the NBA. I think that a lot of kids today, they record themselves in the gym, but they ain't really working, man. You got to get in the gym and put in the work. And that's why I always say I lack that. I didn't want to get in the gym and put in the extra work. Like, people that want to be great, they do what they got to do to be great. And that involves being in the gym. That involves watching film. I think when you watch film, you get a different perspective than when you are playing. And it helps grow your game. So I say, if it's away from the trainers, if it's away from the coaches, like, be able to watch film and dissect yourself, but also listen to those that know what's going on. Like I said, man, at times I got a little conceited and wasn't listening, but I wish I would have listened back then to my parents about like not settling for being good, be great. And I think that I carry that on with myself now. Like, I don't want to be just good. I want to be great in everything I do. Everything I put my hands on, anything I'm involved in, I want to be great at it. So I would say, just get in the gym, man. Get in the gym, work on your shot, like be able to shoot the ball. That's number one. And be a player that wants to do all the dirty work, because that stuff gets noticed. I love seeing kids that want to take charges, that want to play defense and not just stand around. Like, I want dogs. Be a dog. Build yourself up, be tough. Like, those are the things that we look for in players and recruits. So just get in the gym, man, watch film and do all the little things.
All right. Now, I've heard you've given everybody, and I'm hoping that they're listening, the words that were continuously given to you. But in addition to the don't be good, but be great, like, is there an additional word that you can give to that young player who's getting seen already, late middle school, going into high school? Is there something you can give them to stay humble and grounded so that they don't lose focus, or that they push themselves to getting even better? Is there something in addition that you can give to them?
Yeah, like, just to have a mentality that, like, everybody say, like, it's a Mamba mentality, right? Because this is how Kobe was. Kobe didn't care if he scored 45 the night before. Like, he's going to do it again. Like, don't just settle for stuff. Like, always be hungry and a sponge to, like, learn more and do more. Like I said, a lot of people just get content with being good. Like, don't do that. Like, always work on your game, because there's always something that you can work on. I think, even thinking back to like my college playing days, like I was content with just, like, being able to get to the rim and score at the rim, right? I wish I would have worked on, being a threat from three more.
Okay.
Like, but I was content with being okay, just getting to the rim. Like, no, like, don't be content. Always add to your game, especially in college, because like, we scout every game, right?
Okay.
And I know what you're going to do. I know what you're not going to do. I know all your tendencies, and I'm going to tell my players that. So if you come into the next year, you're doing the same stuff, it's easier to stop you. But if you go into the next season, like always adding to your game, then it's harder to stop you. So I would always say, like, don't ever stop. Don't ever be content. Like, continue to add to your game every year.
All right. All right. We didn't touch on this, I don't think, at all earlier, but for the young athlete, how important is it for them to be involved in, say, AAU travel ball?
I think very important. I think that, the more you can be seen, the more you can be recruited. Nowadays, it's kind of, in my opinion, a little easier to get recruited because of social media.
Mm-hmm.
But I think playing AAU just gets you that exposure that you need, and it also helps you be better because you're playing against some of the best talent in the country. So I definitely think it's, a good deal for you to be able to play AAU and play travel ball.
All right. We're about to wrap it up, and these are two questions I always love to ask, just so our young people hear it from different perspectives. But how important is it to have positive people in your circle?
Very important. If you got negative people around you, man, it's never going to be a good thing. And it's people that are negative are always going to try to bring you down, and that's just not what you need around you. You want to have people that have experienced the things that you have experienced, or people that have been through the things that you want to go through. So for an example, like, I'm always going to have somebody in my circle that's a head coach because I want to get there one day. So I want to be able to learn from them now before I'm in that role, so that when I get in that role, I can learn from the things they went through, and I can also be prepared to be the best that I can be. So it's always good to have people in your circle that, are in places that you want to be at one day.
That's good. That's good. And so, final question as we close out: who or what is it that inspires you in life?
I think my mom. Like, she is, like, if anybody knows my mom, like, she is just the epitome of, like, somebody that is just, like, so selfless. And if she loves you, she's going to do everything that she can for you. But she also is, like, a boss. She's a boss. So she's very inspiring to me. She wears many hats, which I think, like, now we always talk about, like, how, we're so similar now that I'm getting older, because she's very creative. She wears many hats. And, like, I'm creative as well, and I wear many hats. And, like, the mentality that she has, like, she always wants the best. And, like, I'm the same way. I want the best. I want to be great. And everything she does and she puts her hands on is great. So, like, I aspire to be the same way, as a person and eventually as a mom. So, yeah.
Well, Coach Walker, we appreciate you joining us. I mean, those watching, I'm blessed, like always, to have awesome guests. But what Coach Walker brings to you today is, again, another guest who had the opportunity to play on a high level, but even outside of the sport, she's gone on and she continues to take it to another level. And now what she's able to do and imparting into the young ladies' lives that she's able to coach now. So again, we have that example of, guess what? Hey, whether you make it to the pros, whether you make it to college, whatever level you make it on, there will always be opportunities for you to continue to grow in life and give back. And so Coach Walker is now in the position to give back to the young ladies that she's coaching. And we're just sitting and waiting for that opportunity. We know one day we're going to be watching Coach Walker as a head coach somewhere. But I hope you all were listening, because it is coaches like Coach Walker that you really need to be making sure you're extending your career with, because it's not just about who you are as an athlete, but you have a coach in Coach Walker that can pour into you as a person, and then, is there for you to make sure you're good in life. And that is what our goal is with the show, to make sure you know who you are outside of the sport that you're playing. And so again, thank you, Coach Walker, for the information you provided.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. This was awesome.
Thank you for joining us. So you all know that watch the show and have watched over the last few seasons. I always say it is great or good to be great in the sport that you're playing, but it's even better to be great in life. So I challenge you to take again the awesome information that's been given to you. Continue to join us as we go out and up. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next episode.